Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Serge. Um, Thank you for joining us tonight on Facebook. Let's talk about the immune system. A lot of people have been waking up to the fact that the health or the health status of the immune system is directly connected to what you eat, to your diet. So let's get ready for fall. Let's make sure you have a good, strong immune system, and we're going to talk about one component tonight that people forget or don't consider. We talk about different things that you need to take elderberry and vitamin D and different things. All these are good, but to me, the factor that will boost and strengthen your immune system is iodine. Okay, so you have to make sure that you have enough iodine. One thing that we learned from this coronavirus pandemic is iodine was used by some doctors to get rid of this virus. So iodine is a deficiency that is fairly common. I was looking at some statistics, and about 50 and 60% of people right now in the States are deficient in iodine. Iodine have multiple functions. It helps, we all know that it helps your thyroid, because we know that the thyroid needs iodine. The brain needs iodine, our skin, our gut, our immune system, our sexual organs need iodine. So there's many different organs that needs iodine. So iodine is in food, right? It's in salt, for example, is in seafood. So seafood and fish have the most iodine. And then eggs, for example, dairy products like cheese, good quality milk like raw, non-processed milk from cows that are pasture, that eat grass, that has a lot of iodine as well. So these are the foods that you need to focus on to have enough iodine. And salt is maybe one of the best sources of iodine if you don't really like fish and seafood. So you have to make sure that the salt that you get has a grayish color or pink color. So if it's a white, if the salt that you eat or buy is white, it means that that salt is processed and it was stripped of the iodine. So there's no minerals. So a good quality salt that has like grayish color, for example, has about 85 minerals along with iodine. So salt that I use personally is Celtic sea salt or Celtic sea salt. This is the brand that I get at the store that is grayish. It has a great color to it, and it has a lot of iodine because it's non-processed and it comes from the sea, from the ocean. Another good brand of salt is it's called Real Sea Salt. So this is a brand that I get at HEB as well. So it has a grayish color that has iodine as well. Okay. So when it comes to iodine, we know that the thyroid is the organ that needs the most iodine. Okay, we all know this. Iodine is needed by your body, by your thyroid, to make hormones. So there's one hormone that your body makes, mostly, it's called T4. T4, the number 4 stands for 4 iodine, okay? Your body needs iodine to make the T4. T4 is the hormones. And then your body convert or transform T4 into T3. T3, it's for 3 iodine. So what happens is your liver, for example, remove 1 iodine that leads to T3, and T3 is the active form of hormones that your body needs. And T3 will stimulate and boost your immune system. So you really need a good amount of T3 in order to have a strong immune system. So let's look at a few factors that can affect this conversion from T4 to T3. So one of the main one is sugar. If you eat a lot of sugar, you're gonna have a reduction of T3 production. And then stress. Stress hormone will block this conversion. So if you have a lot of stress, most likely your adrenal glands are acting up. causing a lot of stress in the body, hormones, stress hormones, and this high amount of stress hormone in your blood will shut down your thyroid. That's why 90% of people with thyroid symptoms have normal thyroid on the blood work, even though they still have problem, is because they have a high amount of stress hormones in the body. So you have to make sure you handle your stress. And I know the last few months there was a lot of stress going on in people's lives, which could most likely have affected the immune system. Okay, that's one reason why people got sick, because the immune system were so stressed by this high amount of stress hormone. And then the key component I wanted to talk about tonight is what we call the allergen elements. I don't know if you remember from your chemistry classes, we have these periodic tables with all these different elements like zinc and mercury and aluminum. And allergens is a family of elements that include iodine, it includes chlorine, it includes fluoride, and it includes bromide, among others. So these are the 4 components or the 4 elements that we need to look at and pay attention when it comes to the thyroid health. So chlorine comes from Splenda, comes from water, swimming pool. So you have to make sure that you're not exposed to chlorine, because what happens is if you are exposed to chlorine, the chlorine gets into your body, and the thyroid is a magnet for chlorine. So as soon as you get chlorine into your body, it goes straight to the thyroid. And what happens is if you have a chlorine into your thyroid, the iodine cannot get in. So you may take enough iodine from food or supplements, but it doesn't get into your thyroid because of chlorine exposure. So you have to look at the exposure of chlorine if you're exposed to it. So water, drinking water is the first thing. So you have to make sure you are drinking good quality water. So reverse osmosis, distilled water, bottled water that is clean, that's fine. And then shower, okay, or bath. So you have to make sure that you don't shower in chlorinated water. Most people are. So you can get a small filtration system to hook up to your shower head to remove the chlorine, or you can buy a whole house system that removes all the chlorine for the whole house. So you're sure that when you bath or shower, you're not exposed to chlorine, okay? And then swimming pool. People don't think about that. So swimming pool has chlorine. Even sea salt pool, okay, has a chlorine. So 80% less chlorine, but salt pool do have a chlorine as well. So pool is one of the main source of chlorine in the summer for people who swim. And that was one of my issues when I had problems years ago is I used to swim a lot in chlorinated water, swimming pool, and the chlorine started to shut down my thyroid and my organs. So the option for swimming pool is to get a copper filtration system. So there's many different systems not out there, like hydrogen peroxide filtration system, ozone system, but copper seems to be the best one. So if you get a copper filtration system, you don't need any chemical, you don't need chlorine, and copper will kill all the infection, the fungi, the bacteria, and all that. So the water of your swimming pool stays good quality. So this is the main thing for chlorine. And then fluoride. Fluoride again comes from drinking water, from tap water. So you have to make sure again that you have a good quality water that you drink. Because fluoride, like chlorine, goes straight to the thyroid, shutting down your thyroid, okay? Because the iodine cannot get in. So fluoride also comes from toothpaste, okay? So you have to make sure that the toothpaste that you use doesn't have fluoride. Okay, these are the 2 main sources of fluoride. And then they started to use what we call chloramine. So chloramine is a chlorine derivative. So it's chlorine base. So they don't use chlorine much anymore in tap water. They use what they call chloramine. And chlorine is more toxic to your thyroid. It's stronger, more potent. So again, you have to make sure that you use a system at home to remove the chlorine and the chloramine of the water that you drink. Otherwise, the chloramine, like chlorine, gets into your thyroid, shutting it down. And then the last thing we need to talk about is bromide. So bromide is another molecule now that they use in swimming pool, for example, instead of chlorine. And they also use it as a preservative, mostly in wheat products. So if you consume wheat or wheat products, most likely you are ingesting bromide. And bromide is more toxic than chlorine and fluoride. Bromide, again, same thing as the other two molecules, shut down your thyroid. Okay, so the fluoride, the chlorine, and the bromide, all those have similar action on your thyroid. So if you are exposed to these different elements, your thyroid is shutting down because the iodine cannot get in. Of course, those molecules, elements can cause problems to all parts of the body. But I wanted to focus tonight on the thyroid because to me, that's the key to have a strong immune system. If your thyroid is not optimal, your immune system is not able to fight back when you're exposed to viruses or bacteria or parasites or different pathogens. So you have to make sure that you consume enough iodine, like I said, and you have to make sure that you are detoxing your thyroid if you have been exposed to iodine. One of the symptoms of thyroid deficiency that I see quite often in the office, it's chronic fatigue or just fatigue in general. Some people are just tired over time because they're stressed, they don't sleep well. All those are symptoms of thyroid deficiency. Again, if you optimize your thyroid function by detoxing the body and having a good amount of iodine, that's the key. And then one last component we need to talk about when it comes to thyroid health is the mineral selenium. You may have heard of it. Selenium is a mineral that your thyroid requires to work at its best. And the problem with selenium is the soil in the States do not contain selenium anymore because the way we've been using so much pesticides and Roundup over the years, we depleted the ground, the soil of selenium. So even though you may consume foods that are high in selenium, you most likely do not get enough selenium from the food. So the best foods to consume for selenium is the best is Brazil nuts. Okay, this is the food that contains the most selenium. And then you have liver, you have eggs, you have cheese, yogurt, steak, pork, chicken. All those animal proteins have good amount of selenium. But like I said, the problem is the soil is so depleted that the vegetables, the fruits, the nuts, and the animals that we consume are also deficient in selenium. So if they are deficient in selenium, we become deficient in selenium as well. So selenium is one of the minerals that you actually have to take supplements, okay, like vitamin D, omega-3, okay, vitamin B, selenium. These are the minerals and vitamins that you actually have to supplement using whole food supplement products. Okay, the selenium is needed to convert the T4 into the T3. We talked about T4, T3 a few minutes ago. So your body, your thyroid makes T4, and you actually need selenium, zinc, vitamin B to convert the T4 into the T3. And the T3 is the one that activates and boosts and stimulates your immune system. So if you don't have enough B, zinc, selenium, if you eat too much sugar, or you have too much stress, your body is not able to convert the T4 into T3. And that's why you have a lower immune system. Okay, and that's why people are more at risk of getting sick from viruses and bacteria. Okay, I hope all that makes sense. The goal here is to look at your sugar intakes, because sugar will lead to iodine deficiency over time. So sugar, take enough iodine, and then consume selenium, okay, from food, from a good diet. So thank you so much.